welcome back to Lotus Literature. If you're new around here, my name is Amy, and as you can tell from the title, today's video is going to be a little bit different from the kind of content that I would usually strive to make, so sort of bookish and academic, university, about like student life. And today I'm going to be discussing something which I think is extremely important to talk about, not just personally, but it's also quite difficult to talk about because I feel as though even though I'm explaining my own situation, sort of my journey, if you will, like my experiences, it's quite difficult for me to articulate exactly how I felt at the time and exactly what my head was going through, because thankfully now I'm in a much better place both physically and mentally. But today I'm going to be discussing my own experiences with mental health and more specifically anxiety. So this is just a disclaimer: if anything to do with sickness, vomiting, that sort of thing, discussions about food, not eating, like under eating, concealing food, that sort of thing, medication, antidepressants, and anxiety in general, like the doctors discussing that. If any of that is something that would upset you or something that you're really like not interested in hearing about, something that you really wouldn't like, you're not in the right frame of mind to listen to someone talk about that, then I would strongly advise that you do not watch this video, and you have been warned. I have given you a notice. But if you are here, then thank you very much. This is quite difficult for me to talk about still, even though I'm kind of 9-10 months down the line in regards to medication. And I feel, as with all my videos so far, this might be a little bit long because I really want to slow down with my talking and make sure I get everything out that I want to say, because like I said, this is a really close topic to my heart, not just personally but for family and friends as well. You know, like they've had to see me go through this. I've even had to see members of my family and close friends go through similar things. So I think it's really important that, like I say, I do kind of take my time, say everything I want to, so that potentially I can help anyone watching this to maybe notice their own symptoms, maybe finally get the courage, get the support to go to the doctors, or any support network you have available to you. I will be linking some, like either some charities or some ways for you to find your own support down below in the description. I'll link some that are kind of Southampton local, like Steps to Wellbeing. That's one that I myself was recommended. And I'll also link ones that maybe are more well known, like Young Minds. And I'll also try and find some things that are potentially anonymous in case you're a little bit worried about that. Like, I know from experience that having to tell someone, even though you know they're qualified, this is their job, having to tell someone everything that's in your head, like everything you've been experiencing, is not easy. I will do my best to link both some kind of ones that you share and ones that are anonymous down below. If I keep looking down over sort of this way, I've got a plan out for what I want to talk about, because I feel that that's the best way to structure this video. And the timestamps, like I usually do, obviously I usually do my timestamps where I'm talking about specific books. That's not the case today. Today's timestamps will be as follows. So I will list where I talk about my symptoms, how I used to feel, how I was affected, sort of mentally and physically. That's where I'll be talking about the sickness and the eating. The second part of the video will be where I talk about enabling services at university and how I was referred on to the campus GP, and then how I went on to start my medication, which I am now still taking. The third part of the video will be about what side effects I experienced with this medication. It's called Sertraline. It's an antidepressant, but you can take it for depression, anxiety, and I believe children can take it for OCD as well. I'll talk about what dosage I'm on, what side effects I experienced, how I'm doing with it now, and some really important things that if potentially you're going to end up on this medication that you need to adhere to, and I strongly recommend you follow my advice on that. The fourth part of the video is going to be what else I did to improve my mental health, because you can't just rely on like some magic medication to make you better. I'm going to be talking about how I tried to get myself out of the house or the flat I was in every day. I'm going to talk about what my friends did for me, kind of how I confided in people. I'm going to talk about how I told my parents that I was on medication because like they'd known I'd gone to the doctors before. And I'm just going to talk about how I got rid of some very toxic people in my life and it made a massive improvement. And then the last part of the video, I will be talking about the present, how I feel now, how much better I am now mentally, how, as I mentioned in every video, my mental health's good enough for me to start reading again, start getting out again, meeting new people, talking to new people, starting up a bookstagram, starting up a YouTube channel, sort of how I am now, what I'm up to, and just to show you that even if you're in the darkest place, there is a way, like there are ways for you to even improve just a bit. And I really want to be able to help some of you if you are potentially hiding these feelings for yourself. But as I say, this is going to be quite a long video because it's quite an important topic and I really want to get everything out into the video that I feel can help. So the first thing I want to talk about is the symptoms that I personally experienced when I was dealing with the worst of my anxiety. My anxiety primarily affected my movements, so I was quite shaky in my hands and my legs, my stomach and my appetite. It didn't really like fog up my brain, it just kind of made me feel constantly down. And every morning at around 4 o'clock in the morning, because obviously I was still in school at the time, I would wake up, go downstairs to be sick, and most often it wasn't even sick, it was just bile because I hadn't had enough food for it to kind of process into like proper sick. I have to go downstairs and be sick, make myself a lemon tea and just sit up in bed like crying or quite distressed by what my body was doing. Also, I noticed when I first got to uni, instead of being sick, I would just feel sick. I'm not sure what morning sickness feels like, but I'm assuming it's quite similar to that. But like I say, I wasn't being physically sick, but I was still getting the symptoms of nausea constantly throughout the day, starting in the morning, ending just as I go to sleep. I'm kind of ready to eat something and then it's too late by then. That was how I was affected when I was in my worst state. And what I ended up doing while I was back at home in Kent is I actually went to my local doctor and they blamed it on A-level exam stress. So that really, really helped me. They recommended me a few apps, didn't really take it seriously. It was just quite disheartening and I really felt as though it actually made me feel worse mentally because I thought, well, it's all in my head, like I can't get a licensed professional to listen to me, so what the hell am I gonna do? I was in quite a state of panic, internalized panic at that point. I wouldn't be able to eat in front of other people. That was something I almost forgot to mention, but it was something that I was really badly affected by, I would say last year and the year before, sort of sixth form time. From the age of about 16 to 18. The eating in front of people thing was quite bad. Like even if other people were eating, I didn't want to eat anything. Like I was embarrassed that people were judging me on how I was eating, how I was drinking. Even in lectures in first year, I wouldn't drink water or like squash just because I thought if I swallow, like people can hear that in the dead silence apart from the lecturer. People might give me looks. And I was just that anxious at the time that I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to drink. I wanted to learn and I wanted to study, but I couldn't because I almost had this mental block because I was so hungry and thirsty, so sleep deprived that my mentality, my study mentality just completely went out the window at the worst possible time because I had A-level exams coming up. Thankfully, I got myself through those. I still have no idea how I managed to, and it's quite odd because I got more nervous. Like my anxiety came up a lot more for my mock exams than my real A-level exams, which I'm completely confused by. Like I remember I wasn't able to eat before any of my mock exams. Like I was shaking, like when I went into the classroom they prepared. And yet when it came to the actual A-level exams, I was having a coffee and a Greg's sausage roll every morning. I think I kind of knew I had to. I think my brain kind of knew that I had to eat something, and even though my stomach still rumbled because some of the exams were like 2 hours or more and I get particularly hungry in the morning, I think my brain kind of knew that I had to eat something and I had to get something down me in order to perform as well as I wanted to in this exam. So that is kind of an overview of the symptoms that I noticed. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got the professional help that finally got me on the right track to recovery. So I was in my first year of uni around late November, early December time. I'd had a really, really bad mental health night. I'd been out drinking with my mates, had a few too many, and got back at about 3 in the morning, completely out of it. And my flatmate opposite me, Lewis, who thankfully I'm living with this year as well. I'm living with 2 Lewises. They're both in my flat. They're both amazing, really helped me out. So if any of the Lewises are watching this, thank you so much. You pretty much saved my life there. And I'm going to be eternally grateful to you for that. As I said, I had a really bad night, had a few too many drinks. I was throwing up in Lewis's like ensuite, because we had ensuite flats, and I didn't have any control of what I was saying. I was saying like I wanted to hurt myself, I wanted to die, I didn't see any point in living anymore. It was at the extreme end of like negative mental health. And I think really distressing for both Lewis's to have to see like their friend, me, like that. And instantly Lewis said like, you're getting on the phone tomorrow, you're going to enabling services, which is kind of like the first step to recovery within the University of Southampton anyway. I'm not sure if it's the same for every university, but enabling services, Lewis phoned up Lewis 1, there's two Lewises. Lewis 1 is the one who took me to enabling services. He phoned them up, he explained a little bit about what went on. We went onto campus and I got a number, sat there, waited a little while. They took me into this room and they kind of asked me like, what's wrong? I explained all my symptoms, all my thoughts, all my like intended actions, and the fact that really in my mind, the one thing that I wanted was medication. Medication had always been something that I thought would be the only thing that could help me because of how far along I'd come, how many other things I'd tried. I tried Headspace, I tried meditating, I tried just forcing myself to eat, I tried ignoring it, and none of it worked because my brain had gone past the point of no return, essentially. So I explained everything and got referred, still in enabling services, to a second person, had to explain everything there again. And she instantly phoned up the GP, because our GP is like on campus that we're registered with. It's another building. It's quite useful. Again, not sure if every university works that way, but I'm really glad that Southampton does. I was referred to the GP the same day, went back home for lunch, tried to get down like a toasty or something, managed to get that down. And then as soon as I got back, I had about an hour or two to kind of prepare myself and think, you're finally getting the help that you wanted, you're finally starting that road to recovery. And if you've gone through something like this before, you will know that admitting that you have these issues to someone who you don't know, who's just there to help you, but you might still be quite terrified of, as I was, is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to go through in your life and your journey to recovery. And I can sit here now 9-10 months later and say it's the best thing I've ever done, but at the time I was like on the verge of tears, like I was crying even, and I was just absolutely terrified. So I went to see the GP that afternoon. She asked me everything. I told her like the entire story. I thought, this is the one chance I'm gonna get to get this medication, to get this help. And she instantly made me go down to the pharmacy, which was just like a 5-10 minute walk away from campus. And that is where I picked up my first lot of medication, which I was due to start taking the next day. This moves me on to the third part of the video, in which I will be discussing the side effects and kind of my process of starting Sertraline, which I believe is a relatively new antidepressant. I know it's an antidepressant and I'm taking it for anxiety, but it has helped me astronomically. I cannot describe how much like I am grateful for the GP for putting me on this, like finally. But I just do want to say you can't always rely on medication. Like, you can't 100% rely on it. I'll talk about that in kind of a what else I did section after this. But Sertraline, I started off and I'm still on 50 milligrams. I get 28 tablets, so like a month's worth roughly. And I think here I pay like between $9 and $9.50 for prescription charges. And my GP also booked me in with like a mental health specialist to see every week, which then when I started to get better got cut down to every 2 weeks. But now I'm on a bit of a tangent and I'm going to go back to Sertraline. So I was on 50 milligrams, still am, and in the first week, because I think it's for anxiety, not antidepressants for depression, I was put on half a pill for the first 7 days, which I decided to take at around 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of the most important things that I want to tell you about taking antidepressants, mental health medication, is that you need to be consistent with it. You need to set up that cycle because it's a chemical cycle. You need to take it every single day, if possible, dead on the dot. I mean that. Please, if you're on this, don't take it as a joke. Don't think you can take it willy-nilly. This is something extremely serious and can actually damage you if you do not take it seriously enough. So I took mine. I'm still taking it at around 20 past, 10:30 every day. You do have, I believe, like an hour window. So if I forget to take it at 10, I can take it from anywhere up to 11. But if I forget to take it, if I don't have any to take because my prescription hasn't come back through yet, like, you cannot take one after that hour. You should I strongly advise you not to take one. If you're on them, you get this massive leaflet of side effects. Please, please, please read it. Read it from front to back. Read it from cover to cover, every single word. Write things down if you have to. I don't care. Please take this seriously. It is not something to joke about. It's not something to just go all willy-nilly with. This is serious stuff, and I'm sorry for getting a bit aggy there, but it frustrates me when people don't take this seriously, because I'm still taking it seriously almost a year later, and I can guarantee you that you will come off better for it than if you just take it, you take it at 9 a.m. one day, 4 p.m. the next day. It's gonna cause a lot more problems, so please take it seriously. Side rant over. But yeah, take it at the same time every day. After that week that I was on the halves, I was put up to a whole tablet every day. And now I just want to talk about the side effects that I experienced. This was the only medication I was on at the time. I wasn't on birth control at the time, so I'm not aware if when I first started it would have, messed around with that. It doesn't seem to now, so think that's fine. Please don't take my word for it. I'm no means a medical professional. If you have any queries about that, please phone your GP. Please don't take my word for that. But the side effects that I got, I zoned out. I had back and stomach pain, kind of in a sphere around my stomach to my lower back. I had a hot water bottle on it constantly for about 2 days. And my appetite was a bit iffy. I was trying to eat as much as I could, but obviously that was one of the side effects of my anxiety as well. And yes, I did feel worse for the first 2 weeks. I did have a couple of really, really bad nights as well. But after those first 2 weeks, it's not going to be oh, the 2 weeks are over, day 15, you're instantly going to feel okay, because you are not. You are not going to feel okay for a long time, sadly. Even just starting the first 2 weeks of medication is the start of a very, very long process to recovery. And like I say, this is something that you should take it seriously. You should take it very seriously. So the worst side effect for me was the zoning out, because I remember walking from I'd get off the bus at the main campus, the interchange. If you're at Uni of Southampton, you know that you can get off the bus at Highfield campus, and it's about a 10-15 minute walk from Highfield to Avenue campus. And I did that for one of my seminars on the first or second day that I'd been taking the tablets. And I zoned out for the entire walk from Highfield to Avenue campus, and to this day I barely remember anything past there's sort of a slope up to the physics building. I barely remember anything past that. I don't remember getting to campus. I don't remember the seminar. Obviously I won't really remember the seminar because it was last year, but I don't physically remember. Even a week later, I didn't physically remember getting from point A to point B. I don't know how I did it. I just think I walked and I was there all of a sudden. I think my brain kind of took control and my body didn't really have a say in it. But that was the worst side effect I got, aside from the stomach and back pain. And thankfully the zoning out subsided within the first 2 to 3 weeks, and that's when I started to notice my appetite coming back, which I was very grateful for, because I love food. Who doesn't? I love food. I love being able to cook now that I can cook a lot more, and I'm just grateful that my appetite came back, because that was the main problem. And when I woke up in the mornings and didn't feel sick, wasn't sick, and didn't need a lemon and ginger tea just to settle my stomach at 4 to 6 a.m, I was the most grateful I'd ever been in my life thus far, because I finally started to feel normal again, as I kind of put it then. But as I was saying, this is moving now into the kind of what else I did section. Medication will not inherently help you. It is not going to cure all your problems overnight, and it is not the only thing that you can rely on. As with medication, I knew I was taking it, I knew it was having a chemical effect. But I knew that I couldn't just rely on the medication to make me feel like I did when I was a lot younger, because anxiety was all I'd really known for quite a long period of my school life. And now that I'm in a better mindset, I truly think that I have not been not anxious since kind of the age of 7 or 8. And to think that, it really upsets me not knowing that that's what it was and letting it build up for about 10 years. But what else did I do to help my mental health get back to a stable and great state that it is in today, I would say? One of the things that I did that I thought of, one morning I had a lecture from 9 to 10 and I went to that, picked up a book in the library for some studying on campus, and then I had a really great idea that really helped me just get out of the house every day, even if I didn't have any lectures or anything. And what I did was, Avenue campus, the humanities campus at the University of Southampton, has a course collection in their library. And what this means is you can pretty much only take these books out of the library for one day. So what I did was I went to the course collection section, picked any book, even if I didn't study the course, even if I didn't take it, if I didn't need it, I took it out and knew that I would need to bring that book back to the library the very next day. And usually a Tuesday, I think a Tuesday was my day off. In second semester, Tuesday was my day off, and I'd had a lot of lectures on the Monday. So I took the book out of the course collection and knew that even though it was my day off the next day, I'd have to go all the way back to campus just to put it back, to return the book. So I did that every day for about 2 weeks, and while I was out getting the book to take back, I would take another one out, so I'd have to go back to the campus the next day, just so it was getting me out, even just to do something as simple as that. However, there was about a 15-minute walk from campus just down this straight road to this area called Portswood, where the Sainsbury's is, where there's it's like a miniature high street essentially. And when I was at campus returning a book and getting a new one out, I would always think to myself, you're out now, you might as well get some stuff done. So I would do the walk down to Portswood from Avenue campus, go to Sainsbury's, just have a look around Superdrug, that sort of thing. At the time, reading hadn't really sprung back into my mind as something that I was really interested in, even though I was studying English, which it probably isn't great to admit. But I just went around, looked around, even if I didn't need to. Sometimes I would literally just walk from Avenue campus all the way down to Portswood and then get a bus back to Halls because we got a free bus pass in the first year. So I would make myself walk for about 20 minutes just for no purpose other than walking, for kind of clearing my head, getting myself moving, getting myself active, getting my mind working, thinking, right, I'm walking down this road, what is it I need to do next? And I would get on that bus, get back to my flat, and I would be so much happier. And like I say, I did that for 2 to 3 weeks, and that was one of the things that really helped me, alongside the tablets, to improve my mental and my physical health. Another thing I did was get rid of someone very toxic in my life, and I won't talk about that too much because if you know me very well personally, you know what a hassle that was and what hassle it can still be very rarely. It's just a complete hassle and I don't really fancy talking about it. But let's just say I got rid of someone who had been extremely toxic and manipulative for 4 to 5 years of my teenage life. It's all relationship-y stuff that I don't care to think about now because I'm in a very happy relationship with Alex. We've been together for 7 months now. And Alex is someone who has really helped me get better. And as soon as I met him, again for the second time, kind of reconciliating what we'd already started. I didn't mind eating in front of him. I didn't mind drinking in front of him. And that's a good sign. And I knew kind of when I was just scoffing snacks down in front of him, I knew that I was in a much better place, considering that time last year, I would not have even nibbled a soft thing like a sandwich that made no noise in front of everyone else who was eating. I was at the stage where I couldn't. You can tell now that is a massive improvement from for only a year. And I also want to just say that telling your parents that you're on this medication, for me, it was something that I waited until I was back home for Christmas to say. I didn't want to say it on the phone. I didn't want to distress my mum until I knew I was going to be there to kind of comfort her if she got upset. And they were completely understanding because of things that have happened in my family before. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail about that because that is quite private and personal. But let's just say that more people in my family have been in the same situation than I initially thought I knew about. And it was actually just something that even now, like my parents are like, oh, you're still on your tablets, how are you doing, you were right. They know how much I've improved. And the other day I FaceTimed my mum and she said I look a lot healthier. So that was really nice to hear. Thanks, Mum, if you ever watch this. Something else I want to talk about is something that I didn't mention when I was talking about like how I wasn't eating properly. And I didn't notice it at the time until another relative said I looked like I'd lost weight. But I do think I lost a fair bit of weight, especially off my stomach area. Like, I wasn't like skin and bones. I'm not the thinnest person in the world. I'm not overweight. But I knew I'd lost weight because I just wasn't eating any more than maybe like 1,000 calories a day, if that. I was barely hitting that most days. And I'm not a calorie counter, but I know I was not eating enough, not even for like someone who doesn't need to eat much. Like, I was nowhere near how much I should have been eating. And I've put the weight back on, and I know I've put the weight back on. And I had a bit of a cry to Alex about it the other day. I said like, oh, I can't fit into my skirt anymore, I can't fit into my jeans anymore. And him and one of my best friends, Eleanor, and my other friend Helen, one of my other best friends, Helen, they've all kind of said to me they would rather see me kind of a little bit chubby, but happy, eating, drinking, living, than skin and bones, not eating, just completely in the wrong place. They'd rather see me happy, a little bit chubby, than unhappy and underweight. And now that I've had a few days to reflect on that, I totally agree with them. I'd rather be in this state with this body than in the state I was with that body, if that makes sense. Like, I'm happy with where I am now. I realise I've gone off on a bit of a tangent now, but I've kind of gone into the last part of the video, which is where I just want to say, how am I now? I'm great. I'm amazing now. I'm still taking my medication every day at the same time. I'm still having little bits of anxiety. And the thing that really gets me nowadays, it got me before, but it's the one thing that's still kind of left over, and I think I'm going to have it for the rest of my life, it's just one of my things, is time management. Time management is something that affected my anxiety quite badly, and I think it still does affect it, not as badly, but like it's the worst thing I still kind of have to experience these days. Say I'm meant to meet my friend at 2 in the afternoon at a certain place. Say we're meant to meet at a cafe. I'm at the cafe half an hour before. I'm in town getting the bus. Like, I get the bus an hour and a half before I need to be there. I'm ready and up at 9-10 in the morning. And if the friend isn't there where we agreed to meet at 2 p.m. on the dot or earlier, I start thinking they've ditched me. And I know that's probably quite a common thing, even with people who don't have anxiety, but it makes me, like, I get the nausea, I get the stomach ache, I kind of think, like, if I'm looking at the bus timetable and it says the bus is meant to come in 2 minutes, I start panicking. If I'm like 30 seconds away from the bus stop, I'm thinking, oh my god, the bus is early, it's already been and gone, I've got to wait half an hour for the next one. I just faff and panic. I panic. That's my big thing. Panicking and time management. But thankfully, the appetite thing is sorted. My hands don't shake anymore. Even when I have coffee, like, coffee doesn't really, like, caffeine doesn't really affect me. But nowadays, 10 months down the line, I am at the best place I think I've been for 10 years. I'm reading again, I'm studying again. I did some studying for uni earlier, like, uni doesn't start until October, but, like, I've done my preliminary studying, like, I'm doing Tudor history, Tudor literature, like Shakespeare, all that stuff. I mentioned it in my last video. But I've done some preliminary notes for that, and I really, really enjoyed it. I've been reading a lot more. I've already read, like, 42 books this year. Like, I'm writing for enjoyment, I'm getting out and about, I'm tidying, I'm getting out of bed, I'm not spending all day in bed. Like, it's amazing how much I've improved and how I thought I would never be able to sit here, make this video and say, like, I did it, I'm better. And I just want to say to anyone who's ever helped me, like, whether I know you in person, whether you've sent me a message on Instagram, it really, really means a lot to me. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to sit here, make this video and say, like, I did it, I got better. Obviously I'm not 100%, but I want to say I'm like 97, 98%, because everything that's happened in my life in the last 10 months, you know, having that awful night, getting the medication, the help, making myself kind of get out and realizing that it's actually not as hard as I thought it was, getting my appetite back, my sleep's okay, getting into a healthy relationship, being down here in Southampton again, like having my own space. It's just everything has kind of fallen into place for me finally, and it makes me so happy to be able to sit here and say that I got through all that shit and I'm here today to hopefully help anyone who may have noticed these symptoms in themselves, anyone who's scared to go to the doctors because they feel like the doctor's not going to understand. From someone who went to one doctor, was pretty much shunned and told it was exam stress, only to go to the second doctor and to be instantly told that my feelings are like what they are, and acknowledging that I need the help that I ask for. It's an amazing feeling when you finally get that one medical professional who understands exactly what is wrong with you. And I'm just here to say that if one doctor doesn't understand, please keep trying, please, because you should not have to suffer any of what I did, because I would not wish that upon my worst enemy at all. I'm gonna, as I say, leave some links down below for mental health advice websites, help, things like Young Minds, Steps to Wellbeing, etc., like Samaritan, stuff like that. They will all be in the description. Also, my direct messages on Instagram are always open, so if you've been experiencing anything like this and you want a safe outlet to talk about with someone who will understand and has gone through that process before, please feel free to message me. There will be no judgment, there will be no negative comments. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can and to help you get through potentially what I've gotten through, because it's a tough process, believe me, but you can do it. You really can do it. You've just got to be strict with yourself, especially with medication. Thank you very much for watching. I just appreciate your time and watching a video on such a serious topic, especially with my annoying voice. Like, I know I sound like I've got a cold. I have not. Thank you very much for your time today, and I will be back with some bookish and academic content in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.